Selection tools are really the heart and soul of Photoshop because without a selection, you can perform an operation and affect your entire image as opposed to a specific area. Think of it this way. A selection is like a force field, and whatever's in that force field is the area that is going to be affected, and everything else will be protected. So let me go ahead and show you what happens if you don't make a selection. And by the way, this upper area of our tools are where the selection tools live. Okay? So I'm going to grab a filter. I'm going to grab my wave filter. As you see here, I'm in my distort area, and I have the wave, which was the last filter that I used. But I'll go to distort anyway and choose wave again. And I'm going to click OK. Since I didn't tell Photoshop to protect any portions of this image, the entire image is hit by the big wave. So I'm going to undo that. And now I'm going to grab one of my selection tools, and I'll talk about what these do in a minute. And I'm just going to draw, let me grab the elliptical one here, and I'm going to draw out a selection. And he does have a big head, doesn't he? And now I'm going to do that same filter, and look what happens. I told Photoshop to affect only what is inside this boundary and leave everything else alone. So that is what a selection will do for you, and that's why they're so powerful, and that's why you really have to understand how to use them. Anytime you want to get rid of a selection or a marquee or any of those tools you use, go to Select, Deselect, or press Command or Control D. Alright, now just a little background about this image. I was always a big Charlie Brown fan growing up, and I read all the books, and I figured, what happens if Charlie Brown grows up and becomes a cool super spy like James Bond? And this is what this image is. His name is C. Brown. So he's really grown up, and he's cool, and he's tough, and nobody's taking that football from him anymore. So now, the rectangular marquee tool will allow you to draw a rectangular marquee, and you can move your mouse and do all kinds of stuff like this to select the area that you want to place it in. And once you have it, the selection, you can put your mouse in here and then move that selection around, so you're never really stuck. Let me deselect that, and I'm going to show you that if you hold down the Shift key, what you'll get is a perfect square. The same holds true for the elliptical marquee tool as well. What you'll also notice is that when you have this tool selected, you can choose how the marquee is going to work. For example, I can choose a style, whether it's going to be a fixed ratio, fixed size, and then I can enter the dimensions myself. So I can say 200 pixels here, and I can say for height, 200 pixels, and then when I draw, it's going to give me exactly that, nothing more, nothing less. If I want to go back, I can go back to normal, and then I can draw my own marquee again. So let me go ahead and just draw out my own size. The other selection tool we have, of course, is the Move tool, and the Move tool will move whatever is selected. In this case, I have this selected here, but you're going to notice something very interesting. As opposed to grabbing the Marquee tool, where the icon is a marquee, you see the little marquee under the mouse? If I grab the Move tool, I get a pair of scissors. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to move this selection and what's inside of it. Watch this. You see that? So I'm actually moving that object around. I cut it out and moved it around. So be careful with that. If you just want to move the marquee, grab the Marquee tool. If you want to move the contents, grab the Move tool. Okay, let's deselect that as well. We also have our polygonal lasso tool, our lasso tool, and our magnetic lasso tools. And these are really, really cool. And I'm going to spend some time talking about how those work. But very quickly, I'm going to show you that with the lasso tool, you can draw your own shape and then fill it in with a color or whatever you want to. So you have full control over that with the lasso. And we're going to talk about that later on. We also have our crop tool, which I talk about in another movie. And we also have our quick selection tool and magic wand tools, which I'll go more in depth with as well. So once again, the main benefit to a selection is that you're able to tell Photoshop specifically what portions of an image you want to affect, as opposed to affecting the unselected or the entirely selected parts of your image.